Hey everyone, Catch 'em All Collectibles here. As I mentioned on Monday, I'm wrapping up the week with kind of an overview of my modern versus vintage breakdown on both my spending, which I touched on Monday. About 28% of my spending in 2021 was ultra modern. In 2022, that's shifted even a little bit more heavily, probably. I didn't fully go through the numbers. Maybe I'll do a recap in July for like mid-year breakdown on my spending, but I did go through and I did an inventory snapshot. I guess while we're at the intro, if you watched PokeFlip's podcast yesterday, check that out if you haven't yet. My weird background is I'm building a new PC for that I work on day to day in this business. It's going to be overkill for buying and selling cards on eBay, and it's probably overkill for the amount of editing that I'm going to do, but I do intend for the future of this channel to have the ability to like post pictures on the screen and things that I've not yet done. Hopefully when I get this computer behind me assembled, I'll be able to do some light editing, some minor things like that. So yeah, unrelated to the video, but I just wanted to talk about it because people will be wondering what's behind me maybe. Anyways, continuing on, what I'm going to do in this spreadsheet, you'll see some black boxes up here. This is basically the same spreadsheet that I had for Monday. I just added in a few things. You'll see ultra premium collection here. I'll talk about why I targeted something like a Pokemon Center Celebrations ETB over an ultra premium collection for short to midterm investment, speculation, flip, whatever you want to call it. Again, semantics kind of get people a little riled up at times. And I myself made my own video about using the I word investing in Pokemon. But yeah, breaking down the snapshot that I took. This snapshot I took, I'm recording this on the 19th. You'll see this on the 20th. So this is like as up to date as possible. Pretty estimated. It's hard to get exact values here. I used a combination of my PWCC vault valuation, the data that they provided based on recent sales. Some of it I used just my list price on eBay, which is generally speaking a bit higher than market, but adjusted down by some percentage seemed fair enough. This includes all my Troll and Toad Evo inventory. This includes the best that I could estimate it, all unlisted inventory too. Obviously, these aren't like raw dollar values. I just did percentages. But yeah, this is pretty much how my stuff breaks down, and not by design, just kind of happened to be that way. I was interested to see that it was very roughly 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 split between ultra modern. Again, as on Monday, I defined it as any sets within the past 2 to 3 years, generally speaking, things that would be deemed like in print, in standard rotation. Maybe probably Sword and Shield block would be fair to say. Sword and Shield base to current is right around that, little over a 2-year window. Vintage to mid-airs and ultra modern, that includes ultra modern sealed, that includes singles, that includes graded promo cards from that era, everything in ultra modern. Vintage to mid eras, and then trophies, promos, rarity, scarcity. There's more overlap between these two. Like my Pikachu trophies border on ultra modern. I think my newest one is the number 3. That's 2019. So my 2019 number 3 Pikachu went into this one. All my Pikachus went into this one. My Art Academies, my orbs, my victory rings, things like that went into the trophies promos. So it's a bit, it all depends on how you defined it and how you want to classify it. But I guess just walking you through the way that I did it, vintage to mid eras largely is going to be my, used to be a complete PSA 9 base set, or PSA 9 hollow first edition WotC sets, everything from base first edition through E-series. Now that's more of a mixed bag. I do have all of them graded, some of them PSA CGC 8s all the way up to some PSA CGC 9.5s, 10s, everywhere in that range. So vintage mid-airs, a little bit of sealed product, nothing too substantial, but I still have like most of the packs from that sealed Rocket Japanese box, or sealed Fossil Japanese box, and then some mixed packs of Rocket first edition, Jungle first edition. So it was just really interesting to see. Again, some people are super modern is the only thing I'm going to play in. Vintage is the only thing I'm going to play in. Why not both for me? I see them and I treat them as completely distinct, different segments of my business. And I think I want to elaborate on that further in future videos. Let me know if you have any specific ideas for videos that you'd like to see. Let me know if you have any specific questions down in the comments. I mean, I can answer them in the comments. And if they feel too difficult to cover in just the span of however many characters in text, I might do a whole video about it. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments below. Feel free to like and subscribe, all that YouTube stuff too, while you're commenting. But for today's video, we're gonna stick to more. Here's a snapshot. I'll give you a quick overview of like how my mind works on each segment of the business. And at some point in the future, I know not everyone runs a business in Pokemon, but hopefully this can be interesting and or useful to even people who only collect. Something that Jake and I do in the Pokenomics Discord and Patreon, we try to teach the way that our brain works, teach the way that we go about collecting, investing, speculating, doing business, so that the whole teach a man to fish versus giving a man a fish type thing. So yeah, hopefully bringing you into the workings of my mind might have interest or value. But ultra modern, I generally see it as I want to get in as low cost as possible, and I want to sell it into the market at the prevailing market rate to make my margin. Kind of high volume, low margin, lower margin. And it's a common SM Prattism for anyone who follows Scott Pratt. Replace or sell quickly what you can replace quickly, and sell slowly what you can replace slowly, or maybe can't replace at all. So top down would be like ultra modern. This would be the more liquid, the more replaceable, the less scarce, generally speaking. Vintage mid would be like a step, slightly higher margin, slightly harder to replace, though not all of it is. PSA 9 and 10 commons and uncommons in raw mint grade, raw mint copies to be graded. Those are pretty easy to replace. But things like this, even though it's an 8, I mean, this could be a pack fresh card. So like WotC, first edition hollows and high grade or raw mint, those are a bit more scarce, a bit harder to replace. And then trophies, ultimately, like if and when I ever decide to part with them, as I mentioned in the video, let me see if I can actually drag this over here quick. This is the spreadsheet that I made on how I priced all my trophies when I listed them on eBay recently. A couple people hit me up because they realized I pulled my 4 Pikachus off. There might be something coming up on that in the next month or so. Stay tuned. But yeah, all these ones down below are still available. My pricing, and I talked through in that video, if and when I sell them, it needs to be worth it to me, because I very well may never get these again if I do sell them. So yeah, replace slowly, sell slowly, replace easily. And the way I operate with distribution too is literally just they're buying the product from Pokemon, distributing it out to the retailers, businesses, and I'm just kind of like, there's that saying out there, or there's that the definition of investing is buying something and intending to sell it for more. I have bought my whole allocation of Evolving Skies booster boxes, and I've sold them all. I don't really call me buying these from wholesale distribution and then selling them at market price, I don't really call that investing. It's like, does Walmart invest in every product they sell? No, the retailers that do business in those, they're not really investing in it. They are buying their inventory with intent to sell it for more, and they actively do that. But I wouldn't say Walmart is investing in milk and clothing and toys and whatever else they sell. I would just say so like ultra modern, I see more as like business, 90% of it, 10% of it or so, I do set back a little bit that would get more into the investing, speculating side. Vintage mid-era, a large portion of it, again, is just like churn and burn, replaceable things, more business, doing business, flipping, more flipping in ultra modern and vintage. And then the speculating investing is like maybe 10% of ultra modern is speculating investing for me, and maybe 20 or 30% vintage mid-airs is investing, speculating for me. Trophies, promos, and then more obscure things, that would be a much more substantial part. 2/3, 75, 80% of my involvement in these type of cards is speculating, investing for the longer term, a little bit of holding in mind. You can see here, sorry, on this spreadsheet, it was, as with anything else, if the prices really go to the moon, I might end up selling something sooner than I had intended. But when I bought like these Pikachu cards, I intended my time horizon. These are the dates that I bought them. My time horizon was several years at a minimum. But then, I mean, the prices moved in a way that nobody would have guessed. I certainly wouldn't have guessed. So kind of a really long preface introduction before we get to deleting these black boxes. But that's a breakdown on how I see the three distinct segments of my business that I've broken them down into. I do intend, this one's kind of the more ultra modern one. And I do intend to talk, maybe I'll make a separate video in the coming weeks on the vintage product by itself. Vintage, like base set all the way to 2019, I guess. So vintage to like modern, and then ultra modern being distinctly separate. And then trophies, promos. I did do a video on that, as I mentioned. When can I see the date here when I did this? I don't remember when I did this exactly, but it wasn't too long ago. So probably sometime in June, I'll revisit this one again and give you a more thorough discussion on that. But yeah, let me know if any of those seem interesting to you. We will continue with the modern discussion now for the rest of this video. So again, the way that I see modern, my interaction with modern, 80 to 90% of it is literally just buying wholesale for as cheaply as possible and then selling it into the market at a price point that makes sense to me. I discussed in the last video on Monday, I didn't buy these boxes at $77 to $79.50 per box to immediately flip into the market. So to some extent, I guess I am investing or speculating on the fact that they'll come up at some point $100, $110, $120 a box so that I can effectively sell for some kind of a margin, because today I really can't. At best, maybe I can sell for break even through like Troll and Toad Evo to kind of work up my volume of purchases and maybe get more allocations in the future, but I can't actively sell for like a profit on eBay or TCG right now. A very atypical thing for me. Again, 80 to 90% of my modern purchases are literally just wholesale distribution. Wait till it goes up to 130, 150, 200, whatever it may be. And that might be a video too in the future. How do I determine what price point to sell? Like right now I have 72 boxes of Fusion Strike. How and when will I decide to sell those? There's no like hard and fast answers. There's no concrete schedule I go by. I don't say like, I'm going to sell X amount at 100, X amount at 120, X amount at 200. It's all a feel thing. So maybe I'll do a video on that too. Let me know if that's something that feels interesting to you. But yeah, how and when will I sell those? What are going to be my price targets? What are the time targets for those price targets? It seems like every video I make lately, I think of 5 more to make, which is kind of a good thing, I guess. But so I went to the open market, and instead of buying at the rock bottom price, the wholesale distribution price, Celebrations, Pokemon Center, ETBs, I actually went out the original price to me directly, because this is one of those products you can't get through wholesale distribution, is $64.99. Plus I live in New York, where the sales tax in my county is 8.75%. So my floor price on this product is $70.67. And this would have been back in the fall. So several months later, as best we know, it's out of print, right? Like theoretically, they could come back and they could make more of these, but they made that announcement that theoretically they're not going to make any more. So I went out and I purchased 60 more of these. That's more than I could have effectively gotten, I think, because they had a limit. Some of these sets they're doing limit 4. I think this one was limit 10 for a little while. I wish I did pick up a bunch when it was limit 10, but I didn't. So instead of getting it a 70.67, I got it at 84.53, which is about a 20% premium to the floor price. So functionally, thinking of it a different way, it would be equivalent to like if the prices started going up on Chilling Reign and say I wanted to buy a bunch more, it would be like buying Chilling Reign at approximately $96 a box. So it's not completely unreasonable. It's a pretty decent premium to pay, fairly safe, I think, especially since I've actively been arbitraging some of these through different platforms for slate premiums over what I'm paying to kind of lower my cost basis. But very atypical for me to go back and buy something like above the floor price. When I'm doing this 33% of my business in ultra modern, the core thing that I keep in mind is like having as low cost basis as possible, having as low risk possible. And this is where, as a business, I'm speaking. I know not everyone has access to wholesale distribution, but I think this is applicable to collectors, speculators, investors in modern product too. And I'm going to say something that might be painful to hear, and you might not like it. It's okay to miss things from time to time. I did a video on Wednesday talking about 3 big things that I missed. You can't dwell on the past. You can't say, woe is me, and just, oh, I missed out on the ultra premium collection. It was $119.99 retail. As far as I know, that was never anywhere close to that on eBay. I think eBay has always been 200 plus, same as TCG Player. So if you missed it, and if as a collector, this box means that much to you and you want to buy it solely as a collector, you feel like you need to consume that product. It's about 370 right now. Some people are saying 500, 1,000, whatever the number may be by X date, Christmas, 5 years, whatever. I don't know about any of that. I can't predict the future, but all I know is now, like, I know my wholesale buy price was $84. I didn't get many. I got like 24 or 30 at $84 a piece. Retail, so like retail was 120. Say you were buying it in a state like me, you were paying about 130 after tax if you were lucky enough to find it GameStop, Walmart, Target, your local game store if they actually sold at retail. But my strategy, my thinking, even if I thought this was going to 500 or 1,000, just I don't want to pay a 200% premium over retail or a 300 and something percent premium over wholesale when things like Astral Radiance are coming out. It comes out next Friday. I just got my my shipment is coming in like early next week. So I don't want to spend and devote $370 per box to get in at a price that's 2 or 3 times the floor price, four times the distributor floor price, and then potentially miss out on like buying my full allocation of Astral Radiance or Pokemon Go in case those become something really good. So to me, thankfully I have wholesale distribution and I didn't miss out. But especially if you watched it go from 200 to 250 to 300 to 350, if you need one, I guess suck it up and pay it. If you really think you need it, need is a dangerous word. It's expensive sometimes to need things. So I would just say they made a lot of cool products last year, and they're going to make a lot of cool products this year and next year. And so if you're especially if you're a collector with a very fixed budget, or an investor with a very fixed budget, if you spend a lot chasing the old things that have already tripled or quadrupled, well, now you might miss out on buying the next thing that might do that. I'm not going to speculate as to what things might do that too. The ultra premium collection is right in the name. It was a very ultra premium release. So it was an exceptional product with an exceptional result. But I just personally, something like the celebrations, if I could have gotten like if at any point throughout the release of it, I was able to get it at say a 20 or 30% premium to retail, maybe I would have made that play, but I never saw it. That would have been like the 150 range, 160 range. I know some people who made plays at the 200, 250 range. In hindsight, it worked out really well, but I just didn't think the risk was worth it for me when and I'll get into it more in another video, but there's opportunities to buy collections. There's opportunities to buy more scarce things like that for my own personal preference on longer term speculation. So there's kind of where my head is at on it's okay to miss out on certain things. How I deem an opportunity reasonable enough to get in. For me, ultra modern, it's all about high liquidity, lower margin. Something like ultra premium collection was an exception. It's very liquid at a massive return, massive markup. The product that I did has done really well. And when I do make that video, I talked about the video on how to know when to sell. I think I got 30 of these originally, and I only have about 15 left. I sold a lot of them too soon in many ways, but maybe I'll use that as my example. My schedule of like how and when I sold those and my thinking on the remaining 15 or 16 that I have left. I think that'll be an interesting kind of a case study on how I decide to sell things. But yeah, I think that mostly does it for today's video. I think it ended up a little bit longer than I anticipated or intended, but that's the way it goes sometimes. Again, let me know if you have any questions or comments. I don't think there was anything else. I guess check out PokeFlips. Nick and I talked about, and we're probably going to highlight that on PokeFlips. I was going to touch on Evolving Skies booster boxes, speculating as to whether or not there's a reprint. I only have like 6 of these boxes left, but yeah, it's going to be our highlight next week, I think, for PokeFlips. So look for the timestamp in the PokeFlips podcast that went live yesterday, where Nick and I talk about if and when a reprint comes for Evolving Skies, what would our strategy be in pricing it? What would be our sell points? What would be our potential buy points? Would we go back to the open market and buy more than like we were allocated through our distributors? I think that was a really interesting conversation. So I'll link that in the description if I remember, but it will also be on the PokeFlips YouTube channel. Appreciate everyone who's made it over there to subscribe and continue watching the podcast after it split off from this channel and Nick's channel. So yeah, that's it for today. Monday, I'm going to do a video on a really cool collection that I bought. If anyone watched my live with Jake the other day, I teased a couple of the promos that I bought. Right when I get done recording this video, I'm going to record that. And yeah, that'll be live Monday. It was a high 4-figure purchase. A lot of cool Japanese promos, a little bit of modern stuff. Really cool collection that I bought from a longtime friend in the hobby. So keep your eyes out for that on Monday. As always, I appreciate everyone watching. Have a great weekend, and I will catch you all later.